It was a rainy Thursday afternoon in the small town of Cedar Ridge, the kind of town where everyone knew your name, and secrets rarely stayed hidden for long. The local coffee shop on Main Street, called Bean There Brewed That, was packed with locals seeking shelter from the storm. Among them was Eric Dawson, a 29-year-old graphic designer who had recently returned home after years in New York City. He had traded in late-night subway rides for sunsets over pine trees and the familiar comfort of his childhood home. Eric sat at his usual corner table by the window, earbuds in, sketching logo ideas in his digital tablet. His cappuccino had long since gone cold, but he hadn't noticed. What he did notice, however, was Rachel Mitchell, the girl next door from high school, now a confident, graceful woman with eyes that had a quiet fire behind them. She had always intrigued him, but back in the day, he never had the courage to talk to her beyond polite small talk. Rachel worked at the local bookstore and often stopped by the cafe after her shift. She carried herself like someone who had outgrown the limitations of a small town but had chosen to stay anyway. Eric wasn't sure why, until he started seeing her more and more, often alone, often smiling when their eyes met. They had exchanged a few casual conversations in the past few weeks, about books, music, the weather, and how strange it was to come back home after years away. But there was something in her tone lately, something softer, something deliberate. This afternoon, as the thunder rumbled overhead, Rachel walked in drenched from the storm, laughing as she shook the rain from her umbrella. She ordered a chai latte and looked around the room. Her eyes found Eric. He smiled and motioned for her to join him. "You always have the best seat," she teased, sliding into the chair across from him. Eric shrugged, trying to play it cool. Perks of being an early bird. They chatted for a while, letting the hum of the storm outside fade behind their growing connection. She talked about her dream of opening a second-hand book cafe. He confessed how city life had burned him out, and how much he missed simplicity. Then came the moment. It was subtle, almost invisible, but unmistakable. She leaned in slightly, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup, and said, "So, do you ever think about making a move when the timing feels right?" Eric blinked. His mind raced. It wasn't just a question. It was a signal. He could have ignored it, could have answered vaguely. But something in her eyes told him not to. "You mean like right now?" he asked, a cautious smile forming. Rachel's lips curled into something soft but sure. "Only if you think now is the right time." And just like that, the entire dynamic between them shifted. The veil of small talk was lifted. The hesitation that had once defined Eric was gone. He reached for her hand across the table. "I've been wanting to ask you out for weeks. I just didn't want to misread things." She squeezed his hand gently. "You didn't." That evening turned into dinner at a rustic Italian place a few blocks away. They walked there in the rain, sharing an umbrella, laughing like teenagers. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, about their families, favorite movies, childhood memories, and dreams for the future. What made the night unforgettable wasn't just the warmth of their new connection. It was the realization that sometimes, when a woman is waiting for you to make a move, she doesn't come out and say it directly. Instead, she creates an opening, moment, a gentle invitation like, "Do you ever think about making a move when the timing feels right?" Eric would later recall that phrase every time he thought about how different his life could have been had he missed that cue. Over the weeks, their bond deepened. They went hiking on weekends, hosted game nights with friends, and supported each other's work with a kind of devotion that felt rare. Rachel read the rough drafts of Eric's children's book ideas. Eric helped Rachel design flyers for her bookstore events. Their lives became entwined naturally. Rachel often shared her thoughts on relationships, how so many people wait for perfect moments, afraid of rejection or missteps. But in her mind, the real risk was in never speaking at all. "There's power in softness," she told him one evening as they sat on a picnic blanket by the lake. "I'll give a guy an opening, but I want him to have the confidence to step through it." Eric understood that now. Her words weren't just about them. They were a reminder to all men who hesitate too long in the face of vulnerability. By the third month of their relationship, They took a weekend trip to Asheville. Amid the mountains and art galleries, they found time to reflect on how far they'd come. It was there, in a cozy Airbnb cabin, that Eric looked into Rachel's eyes and said, "I'm glad I didn't let that moment pass me by." She smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "Me too. You know, not every woman will be that forward. But if she's interested, she'll find a way to tell you. You just have to listen." Eric would carry that truth with him forever. And it didn't end with just a fleeting romance. A year later, they stood under a willow tree in Rachel's backyard, exchanging vows in a small wedding surrounded by friends, family, and the aroma of fresh books and coffee. Looking back, all it took was one sentence, one signal, one opening, one courageous response. Because when a woman is waiting for you to make a move, she won't always say it directly, but she'll say something that gives you the chance to step up. And if you do, it could change your life.